It don't cost you a dime to be nice to people. Don't cost you a dime.
This guy is one of the best. Awesome. No, he ain't one of. Stop it.
The Hall of Famers did not hesitate. They stepped in and checked him in public, and the tone shifted instantly. This was not some quiet disagreement behind closed doors. The second LeBron fired back, it turned into a full spotlight moment. Cameras were rolling, clips were flying across social media, and the entire basketball world locked in. What started as a comment turned into a headline in seconds. And what happened next? It sent shockwaves through the NBA like nobody expected. This was never just about one viral clip. It was not about one interview soundbite. It became something way bigger. This was Shaq versus the new generation. Old school pride versus modern confidence. And if you really want to understand the tension around Bronny, you have to zoom out first. Because this did not start overnight. Shaquille O'Neal has been throwing subtle shots at young players for years now. Not just one rookie, not just one bad performance. The entire wave of new stars has felt that pressure. Shaq has been consistent with it too. On television, on podcasts, on social media, he has repeated the same message again and again. From 2021 through 2026, he has questioned this era's mindset. He says the respect for legends is fading. He says the hunger that built the league is not the same anymore, and he does not whisper it. He says it straight up. His argument is simple but direct. He believes today's players are earning massive contracts compared to past eras, and that money changes how they see themselves. In his view, those giant deals create a mindset where some young stars think they are already better than the players who paved the way, and when legends like him or Charles Barkley try to give advice, he feels like it gets brushed off. Instead of listening, he thinks they clap back. He also believes the modern NBA is softer. Fewer hard fouls, more load management, more complaints about the grind of the season. In his eyes, that edge that defined his era is fading. He even said it plainly, guys are making way more than we did, so in their minds, they think they're better. That line says everything about how Shaq sees this generation.
The difference between Giannis and Embiid is force. Giannis is playing with force, and Embiid is playing SOF capital T. When you go 1 out of 10,
I'm just saying that's harsh.
When you go 1 for 10, it ain't your coach's fault. It ain't your teammate's fault. It's your fault. I would like the scrutiny to get off Bronny James.
That's who you would like to get a break from the scrutiny.
Yeah, my nephew. I tell my kids all the time, pressure is where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't have to be like me.
To Shaq, the money and the attitude go hand in hand. He is not sitting there saying these guys cannot hoop. He respects skill. What he questions is the humility. In his mind, when a legend gives you advice, you listen, you take notes, you stay quiet and learn. You do not jump online and call that legend a hater. But according to him, that is exactly what keeps happening. And Shaq is not the type to keep it vague either. He will say names out loud. That is when the volume goes up. Because to Shaq, it is never just about one player. It is one big conversation about the entire culture. 1 second he is talking about Dwight Howard's contract. The next, he is saying Joel Embiid plays soft compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Then he zooms out and says the whole league lost its edge. He said it straight on national TV. When his co-host pushed back and said he was being too harsh, Shaq did not soften his stance at all. That moment said everything. Even the people next to him could feel how strong his words landed. But in Shaq's mind, he is not being harsh. He believes he is holding today's stars to the same fire he walked into as a young player. No shortcuts, no excuses. Earn everything. That is the Shaq formula. He spots what he believes is weakness. He calls it out directly. If the player responds or the fans get upset, he doubles down instead of backing off. That has always been his style. He reminds people that he battled Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and John Stockton. He knows what greatness feels like because he went against it. And he has said many times that he rarely hears current players talk about fearing LeBron the way players once feared Jordan or Kobe Bryant. That bothers him deeply. To Shaq, fear is not about intimidation. It is about aura. It is about that deep respect where opponents know they are in trouble before the game even tips off. Back in February 2020, he summed it all up in one explosive post. He wrote, "Because y'all accept mediocrity and us legends don't, this is why the game sucks." That line blew up everywhere. And it was not aimed at just one player. It was aimed at everyone. Players, fans, media, the whole culture around the league. In Shaq's eyes, the standard has slipped. He points to players sitting out games even when they look healthy. He talks about flagrant fouls, fines, and suspensions for hard contact that used to be considered normal playoff basketball. He believes the toughness has been diluted. And when young stars push back and say legends are just bitter, Shaq answers that directly. He said, "Stop being sensitive because I know what I'm talking about and you know I know what I'm talking about." That is confidence turned all the way up. Now here is where it gets honest. Shaq has admitted part of this feeling comes from jealousy. Not jealousy of talent. jealousy of money. He has openly said that watching players land $200 million contracts while averaging around 11 points a game hits him differently. He talked about it on Inside the NBA with no filter. When he looks at today's contracts, you can see it in his face. The numbers are massive. The deals are life-changing. And in his mind, that kind of money should come with a certain level of dominance. Shaq will look at today's contracts, then look back at what he earned in his prime, then compare it to the production on the court. And when the numbers do not line up with the paycheck in his eyes, that gap becomes gasoline on the fire. That is where his strongest takes come from. That is what keeps the edge sharp even now.
I tell my kids all the time, pressure is where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't have to be like me, or you should be better than me. I'm not talking about as a player, as a person. Hope he has the opportunity to play well. Hope he has the opportunity to make a name for himself. But I'm sitting watching all the stuff and, like Bill Simmons saying, let's draft him and use him as like all that's unnecessary.
But here is the part people skip over. Shaq says his criticism is not about tearing players down. He frames it as motivation. In his mind, when he sees underperformance at the highest level, he throws a public challenge. Not to crush confidence, but to wake guys up, to push them, to say, you can be better than this. And to be fair, he has shown love too. He has praised Anthony Edwards. He has defended young stars when he felt media narratives were unfair. So this is not random hate. It is standards mixed with ego and passion. That is Shaq's mindset: high standards, huge personality, no soft delivery. And once you understand that, you start to see why things around LeBron and Bronny escalated fast. For Shaq, the line is simple: toughness, work ethic, respect for the past. Cross that line and he will call you out with zero warning. Stay solid, show grind, show love to the legends, and he will defend you loudly. Then the spotlight shifted to a young player who had not even had the chance to prove himself yet. A kid whose only real issue was carrying the most famous last name in basketball. That is where the Bronny situation exploded. Bronny James was selected 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers in June 2024. That is deep second round. The 55th pick is usually a quick handshake, a draft cap photo, and then straight into Summer League fighting for a roster spot. No big expectations, no national debates. Most players drafted there are just trying to survive camp. But Bronny is not a normal 55th pick. He is the son of LeBron James. And that one detail changed everything. What should have been a quiet, low-pressure entry into the league turned into one of the most talked-about draft moments of the year. Every sports show covered it. Every debate panel had an opinion. Social media exploded before he even touched an NBA floor. Even Shaq admitted how unusual it was. He said in all his years around the league, he had never seen the 55th pick generate that much noise. That was not an insult. That was him stating the obvious. The attention was not about draft position. It was about the name on the back of the jersey. Then Summer League hit. Bronny struggled. He missed shots. He looked like what he is, a young player adjusting to NBA speed, stronger bodies, smarter defenders. That is normal, especially for a late second-round rookie. But because he is LeBron's son, every missed jumper turned into a headline. Every quiet stat line became a trending topic. Suddenly, people were debating whether he even belonged in the league at all. That is when Shaq stepped in publicly. On his podcast, he pushed back hard. He referred to Bronny as his nephew, not by blood, but in that basketball brotherhood way. And that word mattered. It showed he felt protective. He sees the James family as close, and when the noise started getting out of control, he did not stay quiet. He chose a side. Shaq spoke from experience when he talked about pressure. His own kids grew up with people expecting them to be the next Shaq. Every time they stepped on a court, somebody compared them to his prime. And when they did not match that level, critics were ready to judge fast. Shaq has said openly that he told his children something important. Real pressure is not about living up to a basketball legacy. Real pressure is wondering where your next meal is coming from. That was not analyst Shaq. That was Father Shaq. And he brought that same energy to Bronny's situation. He wanted the kid to have space to grow, space to mess up, space to learn without every mistake turning into breaking news. Then he turned his focus to the media. He called out voices that kept piling on. He singled out Bill Simmons for suggesting that drafting Bronny felt like a gimmick. To Shaq, that crossed a line. In his view, the conversation stopped being about basketball and started being about clicks and controversy. He felt like some outlets were treating a teenager like content instead of a young athlete trying to find his footing. Every missed layup became a punchline. Every roster decision turned into a debate about favoritism. The word nepotism floated around constantly, like it was the only explanation anyone needed. Here is where it gets interesting. Shaq, who has no issue calling established stars soft or overrated, drew a hard boundary here. A young player who has not even had a real chance yet is different in his mind. That is not the same as critiquing a max contract all-star. That is a kid trying to build his own path. For Shaq, toughness still matters. Accountability still matters. But fairness matters too. And when it came to Bronny, he made it clear he believed the noise was going too far, too fast, and way too loud.
No, he ain't want to stop it. That's what. Hey, the guys are. Hey, stop it. No, he's not. Hey, he ain't want to stop it. Player of the year. All the kids out there watch Gobert. If you can do what he can do, you can get 200 million. Did you see them watch the game?
Like, did I watch them watch the game?
Yes.
I'm going to take their nerd findings for 2.
Do they give extra love at home? They do, but it doesn't matter. It's there, it's documented. You want to impress me, go back and change it.
After those Summer League struggles, TMZ asked Shaq directly about Bronny. Shaq kept it short. Keep playing hard. Bronny, Uncle Shaq loves you. That was it. No breakdown, no list of corrections. Just support from someone who understood how heavy expectations can feel. But the storm did not slow down. As the regular season approached, history was on the line. On October 22, 2024, LeBron and Bronny stepped onto the floor together for the Los Angeles Lakers season opener. First father and son to ever play in the same NBA game. That is historic, no matter how you spin it. Bronny played limited minutes. He missed his shot, and instantly the reaction split in half. Some fans celebrated the milestone. Others looked at the stat sheet and said he did not belong. There was no middle ground. On Inside the NBA, Shaq called the moment special for the James family. He respected the history, but he stayed honest about the basketball side. He said Bronny was not jumping into the starting lineup. Probably not even the second unit. He said the kid would have to grind every day to earn rotation minutes. That is reality for most rookies. He also reminded people that very few first-year players make an immediate impact. That part gets lost in the hype. Charles Barkley did not soften his stance. He said plainly that Bronny should be in the G League and that he is not ready. No sugarcoating. Shaq did not pile on. He kept it encouraging. He said he had known Bronny for years. He said the kid works hard. He said he wished him well. Still, even while defending Bronny personally, Shaq could not separate this from his bigger message about the league. The same man who said this generation accepts mediocrity was now watching the most high-profile young player struggle under national lights. Every missed shot became a symbol in the public debate. Not necessarily in Shaq's mind, but in the larger conversation. Bronny became the face of something he never signed up for. At the center of it all is a contradiction. On one side, Shaq defended Bronny as an individual. He called him his nephew. He told the media to relax. On the other side, he has spent years saying this generation is too comfortable and too sensitive to criticism. Those two positions can exist together. Protect one young player from unfair heat while still holding the generation accountable. But to the public, that line looks thin. Shaq often compares today's game to the eras of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He talks about fear, dominance, physical presence. He says the league used to be rougher. On his podcast, he has explained how hard fouls were just part of the game. Now, flagrant fouls bring fines and suspensions. He connects load management and sitting out games to comfort and entitlement. Now, picture Bronny at the end of the bench. Limited minutes, huge spotlight, few chances to prove himself while the world watches every dribble. Shaq's broader message says modern players are too protected. So when fans look at Bronny, some hear that narrative in the background, even if Shaq never directly put it on him. We have seen this before. Look at the Rudy Gobert debates on Inside the NBA. Shaq refused to rank Gobert among the very best, even with multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. He did not budge. His definition of greatness is tied to a certain era, a certain physical dominance in the paint. If a player does not fit that mold, Shaq questions the hype. So, when Gobert signed a $200 million contract, Shaq saw it as proof the bar has shifted. When he says that on national TV, he is not just talking about one player. He is setting a standard that every young player gets measured against. That message matters. It tells players that money does not equal greatness. Big contracts do not automatically mean big impact. Respect has to be earned. And deeper than that, it pushes the idea that this era operates under different standards than the one before it. Shaq even weighed in when a statistician questioned whether some of Michael Jordan's numbers in the 1980s were inflated by home scorekeepers. Shaq's reaction was immediate and firm. He did not dive into spreadsheets. He did not entertain the breakdown, because for him, protecting the legacy of his era is not just analysis, it is personal. He did not argue over spreadsheets. He did not question the formulas. Shaq simply said, "The numbers are documented, they are official, and nobody should go back and change them." That response tells you everything. In Shaq's world, history is locked in, records are sacred, legends are solid. If you try to revisit that foundation, he sees it as disrespect, not research. In his framework, criticism flows one way, from the legends down to the current generation. Never upward, never backward.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. Much more than I anticipated, for sure. But it's all love. Like it was a nice moment. The chance really got me. Like I was straight faced, but like, I felt it, and it felt really good.
My sense is that he's better than I would have been in that situation. 20,000 fans screaming my name to get in the game, wanting me to be in the game, and if it was reversed, I don't know if I would have been able to handle it.
And that is where the tension starts to build. Because on one hand, Shaq wants to shield Bronny. He calls him family. He tells the media to relax. But on the other hand, he still wants the freedom to tell the rest of the young players in Bronny's age group that they are not tough enough, not hungry enough, not respectful enough of the pioneers. To Shaq, those ideas can coexist. To the public, they feel deeply connected. Now shift to LeBron James. He has carried every title possible: champion, icon, business powerhouse. But when it comes to Bronny, he has made one thing clear. He is a father first, and fathers protect their kids. That protection started before the draft. In March 2023, LeBron tweeted that Bronny was better than some of the players he was watching on League Pass. That was not analysis. That was proud dad energy, loud and unapologetic. Then in February 2024, when Bronny slipped in an ESPN mock draft, LeBron posted and later deleted tweets telling people to let the kid be a kid and enjoy college basketball. The deletion said a lot. He knew responding fuels the fire, but the instinct to defend his son was stronger than the strategy. After the draft and Summer League criticism, LeBron sat down with ESPN and doubled down. He said people do not really know Bronny. He said Bronny does not care about critics. He said he does not give a damn, and that he is the complete opposite of his dad. That was LeBron trying to flip the narrative. He even posted directly to Bronny on Instagram, telling him to ignore the hate because they don't know you. That is not branding. That is fatherhood in real time. As the regular season began and scrutiny grew, LeBron's tone shifted from posts to presence. He said publicly that if people actually met Bronny, they would understand how wrong it is to look down on him. He talked about the pressure of having a famous father, the non-stop comparisons, the social media noise. He admitted he never had to deal with that specific layer coming up. Then, everything escalated. In January 2025, Stephen A. Smith said on First Take that he was pleading with LeBron as a father. He argued Bronny was being put in a position where he would be criticized for not being ready. He said directly that everyone knows Bronny is in the NBA because of his dad. That was the clearest public version of the nepotism claim. Body language alone told the story. This body language alone told the story. This was no longer debate show chatter. This was personal. Video showed LeBron telling him strongly to keep his son out of it. That moment was not about minutes or shot selection. It was a father stepping to a media personality face to face, in front of cameras, saying clearly, "My son is off limits." Stephen A. later confirmed LeBron confronted him specifically over comments about Bronny, and that he spoke as a dad, not as a superstar. That detail matters. He was not flexing status. He was saying, enough is enough. Fuels him. He also said people think he is fuels him. He also said people think he is a robot. That line hits different. The public sees a calm face and assumes he feels nothing. But he made it clear, he feels everything. He just refuses to let it control him. He talked about staying straight-faced after scoring his first basket in Cleveland, the same arena where his father built so much of his legacy, straight-faced, but feeling everything. That is Bronny in one sentence. LeBron, watching from that court, admitted he did not know if he could have handled that kind of pressure at that age. Think about that. LeBron James, who carried expectations since he was a teenager, saying his son might be mentally tougher than he was. Step back now. This is not just Shaq versus Bronny. It is not even fully Shaq versus LeBron. It is a generational divide running through the league. Shaq's era measures greatness through struggle, playing through injuries, taking hard fouls without hesitation, competing in a time with smaller contracts and fewer endorsements. In their minds, the grind shaped them. So when they see load management, massive deals for role players, and players responding to criticism with tweets instead of performances, it feels like something sacred is fading. Not personally disrespected, historically disrespected. Shaq has said this theme again and again on TNT, on his podcast, on social media. The modern NBA, in his view, is less physical and less connected to the grind that built the legends. Then the conversation around Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark added another layer. On his podcast, Shaq talked about the pressure rookies face and compared it to what Bronny was experiencing. He framed criticism as a test, a rite of passage, a filter that separates who truly belongs from who does not. He also admitted something important. Professional jealousy plays a role. Veterans sometimes test rookies because they see attention and money coming fast, sometimes before the resume is fully built. Shaq has even admitted feeling a piece of that himself. Not jealousy over skill, not jealousy over championships, but jealousy over moments. He openly acknowledged that seeing LeBron and Bronny become the first father and son to share an NBA floor hit him differently. That is not about stats, not about contracts. That is legacy in another form. A father sharing the court with his son is something no trophy can replace.
This is called the rites of passage. Everybody has to go through it. They build you up, and then they tear you down lightly. It's professional jealousy, which is understood. That's what Angel and Caitlin are going through right now. You know, a lot of these sensitive people do not understand that in order to be accepted in a fraternity or a sorority.
It's the greatest thing in the world. You know, kids always have these dreams when they're super young. He said from day one, his little brother said from day one, the game of basketball is what they love and that's what they want to do.
You know, we haven't gone too deep into that stuff yet, especially because we haven't even started Summer League yet. But, you know, just stuff that he's been telling me my whole life, just having that work ethic.
When you line it all up, the criticism, the protection, the pride, the jealousy, the generational clash, you start to see the full picture. This was never just about missed shots or loud TV debates. It is about identity. It is about history. It is about who gets to define greatness in a league that keeps evolving every single year. Shaq made one thing clear, though. In his mind, there is a line. Some scrutiny is necessary. Some goes too far. When he talked about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, he framed the veteran pushback as part of the journey. You get tested, you get challenged, you get doubted, then you respond and prove you belong. He applied that same logic to Bronny, but with one key difference. He wanted the temperature turned down for his nephew. That is the fraternity mindset. You earn your stripes, but you do not get buried before you even have a chance to stand up. Shaq truly believes that entering the NBA, the WNBA, or any elite league comes with a trial period. You will get bumped. You will get questioned. Either you rise or you fade. In his view, the legends hold the measuring stick, but LeBron does not see it through that same lens. LeBron does not view constant media criticism of his son as a rite of passage. He sees it as extra weight thrown on a young man already carrying one of the brightest spotlights in sports. Showing up every day at 20 years old with cameras tracking every move is already pressure. LeBron does not believe Bronny needs more noise stacked on top of that. When LeBron was asked what it meant to watch his son live out his dream, he did not talk about stats. He did not talk about championships. He talked about how he and Savannah raised their kids to chase their dreams and stand beside them through the process. Family first, always. Legends can debate toughness. They can talk about how physical the game used to be. That is part of sports culture. But when criticism shifts toward a young player simply grinding for minutes, LeBron's stance is simple. It does not cost anything to be decent. From college through his first 2 NBA seasons, LeBron never distanced himself from Bronny. Every public comment has been supportive or protective. And when someone crosses a line, whether it is a podcaster, a social media account, or a major TV personality, LeBron responds as a father, not a brand. Bronny has said he was prepared for this life long before he fully understood it. Work ethic, being coachable, staying locked in. Those are the values LeBron drilled into him. Not arguing online, not clapping back at critics, just put your head down and work. Here is the twist. Shaq argues that the modern generation does not respect the grind of the past. Yet Bronny's entire journey has been a grind unlike any other 55th pick in history. Constant criticism, national debates, social media noise, and through it all, he stayed calm. He never publicly complained about the spotlight. That is discipline. That is composure. By his second season in 2025 to 2026, the tone began to shift. Headlines softened. The focus moved from "does he belong?" to "how much has he improved?" The noise did not disappear, but it faded. The debate turned toward development instead of doubt. And LeBron, after months of fierce protection, finally got moments where he could just sit back and watch his son hoop. To Shaq's credit, he never lumped Bronny into the soft generation label. He kept his criticism of the era separate from his support of the kid. But here is the reality. When you light a bonfire about softness and entitlement, the heat spreads, even if you did not mean for certain players to feel it. Every time Shaq blasted the league for accepting mediocrity, it shaped the atmosphere Bronny had to walk through, even indirectly. LeBron's reaction was never complicated. It was not about headlines. It was not about public image. It was about making sure his son never felt alone in the storm. If that meant confronting someone courtside, so be it. If that meant deleting tweets or speaking out in interviews, so be it. A father protects, period. And that brings the bigger question. Who really crossed the line? Was Bronny wrong for stepping into the spotlight tied to a famous name? Was Shaq wrong for defending him while still criticizing the era? Or is this simply what happens when generations collide in a league that never stops evolving? That is the real tension. Not just stats, not just contracts, but pride, legacy, and the definition of greatness itself.